I'm Isak Smit. I'm Group CEO of PPS, Professional Provident Society. We are headquartered here in Johannesburg in South Africa, but we also have operations in some other countries across the world. And we are very proudly a mutual organization.
And what is it that you do?
So we have play across quite a broad spectrum of financial services, personal financial services. So long-term insurance or life insurance. So that is death cover, disability cover, critical illness, income protection. In fact, income protection is where we started way back 84 years ago. But we also provide investment solutions for our members, also into short-term or general insurance. And we also assist our members with a couple of other things, for example, financial planning, their estates and wills. And we also supply administration services to healthcare administration services to medical aid funds. We were founded in 1941 during the Second World War. Interesting time to found a new business, but I guess that is when people especially think about the future and income protection and so on. We serve about 150,000 professionals in South Africa. We also have operations in Australia and New Zealand and next door in Namibia. And to give a bit of the scale, our top line, 7 billion rand of revenue. So if you convert that to US dollars, it's about 400 million US dollars revenue on the insurance side. And the profits that we returned to our members last year were around 300 million US dollars, 5.5 billion rands. So a bit about the scale of PPS.
So you're clearly very proud of being a mutual organization. In your view, how does being a mutual make you better at what you do?
Yeah, listen, it's a model that you just fall in love with after a while. So I've been in my current role, by the way, now for almost 10 years, having joined in 2016. And very soon you say to yourself, wow, this is how it should be. This is the perfect model for our members. And interesting, we call it members, not clients or customers. Yes, so it's a long-term purpose. Usually mutual start with a purpose. It's usually a community coming together and say we need a certain particular thing, and if we work together we can provide that. In fact, that is how most of the insurance businesses in the world started, centuries ago. So it's all about purpose. It's also all about that long-term perspective, and it's returning value because there's no leakage outside to a shareholder. We don't have that stakeholder in our model. So all our profit and everything we do goes back to our members.
And what is the real life impact do you see on people and communities? So can you give an example of an organization or an individual that's really impacted positively by you being a mutual?
Yeah, I think maybe there are three things. First of all is just, obviously the products that we provide, the cover that we provide. So if something unfortunate happens to our members, whatever they are sick for a long period of time, it is assisting them with that. And there are so many stories around that. People who say, listen, PPS, if it wasn't for you, I would have been financially broken. My family would have been destitute if it wasn't for that cover that you provide. And obviously also the investment solutions and so on, making sure that our members are not one day old and poor. So that is the first one. The second one is then, as I say, we return our profits to our members. So over and beyond the financial product benefits, there's also that profit that gets returned, and over time it builds up. It stays on our balance sheet. Our members get it when they eventually leave us for whatever reason, retirement or whatever. And that also is a nice nest egg that can often plug a hole in their retirement planning. And then the third one is, like many other mutuals across the world, it's over and beyond that. That's also the CSI activities that we are involved with. So on the social front, we support, for example, our market segment is professionals. So education is very close to our hearts. And hence we sponsor students, we give bursaries, we assist tertiary education institutions, etc. So there's all those stories and I think personally it's just close to my heart to hear that stories. People who genuinely say, PPS, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have become a doctor, or I wouldn't even have known a career like an actuary exists, And here I am, I am whatever honors level, and I'm soon going to go into employment, and it's because of you. I mean, that really, it's so nice to hear those stories.
That must be incredibly special to hear.
It is
Really
indeed,
special.
yeah. So, yeah.
Has your organisation engaged with the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development at all?
Yeah, we are. Sustainability, in fact, is one of our core strategic pillars at PPS. In fact, we added it a couple of years ago. We always had 7 strategic pillars. So when we talk strategy, when we say what is our 5-year plans and things that we do for the future, there's 7 pillars, and that doesn't really change. And sustainability was an 8th one that we've added a few years ago. And again, I think mutuals across the world can play a very special role here because of our purpose-driven orientation and our long-term focus. Sustainability, especially when it comes to things like climate change, but the other ESG considerations as well, it kind of gels very nice with our mutual model.
It's interesting that you mentioned the long-term planning, because that's something I've definitely heard a lot this year in the International Year of Cooperatives, how actually it's some organisations and mutuals and cooperatives find it quite difficult to engage with governments because of the short-termism of a lot of governments. Is that something that you've come across at all?
Absolutely. It is, I think, look, stock businesses obviously is in the short-term space much more. A lot of them have to worry about quarterly reporting or semi-annual reporting. It's a much more short-term focus. Many mutuals, we don't have that. So even when we invest for our members, it's basically once a year that we declare profits. In between, there's not mark to market and things like that. So we can afford to also have a longer term approach. But coming back to regulators and governments and so on, yes, I think for us, our perception is it is sometimes a bit of a struggle because they understand stock businesses and work with them and so on. But us as mutuals, that has got a bit of a different approach. We are there for our members. I often joke with regulators to say, if all insurance businesses were like us, you guys wouldn't have had a job. Obviously, it's a bit mischievous when I say that. There are reasons, other perhaps data protection and things. But I mean, it's all about our members. We just want to do the best for them. And that is what I suppose the regulators' jobs are. They must make sure that businesses do take care of their customers, because in a stock business world, there is that other stakeholder called a shareholder, which very validly want a good return on what they've invested. I mean, they've put their capital up the line and they want a good return on that. But in a mutual organization, we don't have that stakeholder. Everything is about our members. But we find it sometimes just that regulators, governments find it a little bit difficult to get their heads around that one. So used to having to protect clients against these hungry shareholders, So, but we don't have that stakeholders, so that piece is almost not necessary.
We were trying to do some maths the other day, trying to count the number of members of all the members of the CM50, and your reach is absolutely incredible, like as a combined leadership circle. So in your words, Isak, why did you get involved in the CM50, and why do you think it's important?
Yeah, I think it's a great platform for mutuals also to again underline the great value proposition out there. It is, even wider than financial services. It's often, how do mutuals start or how do cooperatives start? It's a particular stakeholder group coming together, and then for a particular purpose. Now, in the financial services world, as I say, many organizations started out as mutuals many years ago. These days, I think it's a bit more difficult. It is a very heavily regulated industry, and rightly so, because we work with other people's money, we work with other people's data, and so on. So, and hence, I think it's a bit more difficult for a group of people just coming together and start a new mutual. You need the regulatory capital. There's a lot of regulation. It's much, much more difficult than what it probably was a century ago, etc. So hence, difficult to do that. But often, I think, again, from a government regulatory perspective, if there is an appreciation of just a beautiful model that can help society and also the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, it is a model that often contribute to that and that can help that. So one must think clever in terms of regulation. So on, how can you support that? And also the existing mutuals like us who have been around for a long time, is there sometimes perhaps when you carve out new legislation, just keep in mind it is a different model and how you regulate it.
And in your view, what do you think the ultimate aim is of the CM50? Because I know you've already mentioned things like policy and regulation, also education. What would you like to see be the legacy of the CM50?
If I have my dream, come true almost, outcome of the CM50 would be a lot of appreciation from governments and the regulators around the world to say, wow, this is a great model. Let us support that. Let us see how we can come to the party in terms of making it easier for communities to come together and to fulfill particular purposes. And for us in particular, as I say, who have been around for quite some time, perhaps if there is a special, let's call it mutual legislation that we have to develop. My dream would be, it's an outcome of the CM50. And I think what's nice about usually regulators across the world get guidance from each other and assist each other and kind of say, where's a model somewhere that, can work? I think that is what they should do, don't reinvent the wheel. I think the nice thing about the CM50 is for different countries to help each other to say, right, let us together tackle this job. We don't have to, in a particular jurisdiction, go on our own. Let us together see how we can develop the space.
Well, hopefully some of those conversations will be happening in Qatar, in Doha for the World Social Summit. I mean, what do you think will happen in Doha? What are your hopes for that event?
Rebecca, to be honest, I don't know. I'm also quite hope to be surprised, but I think the conversations, often the informal conversations where the real value is. So hopefully it will be different stakeholders talking to each other, appreciating, getting ideas. I think that would probably be very helpful in this space.
And what about after Doha? I mean, we've got 5 years left of the Agenda for Sustainable Development. What do you see the CM50 doing in 5 years, and yourselves at PPS doing in 5 years as well?
Yeah, I think one mustn't lose momentum at Doha. So maybe it can be the catalyst of even more cooperation and more, as I've said, piggybacking off each other's work and each other's ideas. And again, just making sure that cooperatives and mutuals as a business model is well appreciated and it's easy for that to be formed and to blossom.
And we mentioned it's the International Year of Cooperatives. So how's it been for you, 2025?
Now, look, we often remind here in South Africa other stakeholders like, again, the regulators and so on, it is the year of the cooperatives. So you guys must pay attention. Don't be out of line with what's happening in the rest of the world. So that helps a lot of conversations. And I think it supports a couple of our agendas here also. It makes engagement easier. And I think there's more appreciation of the beauty of this particular business model. So from that perspective, it's most fortunate that we have it as the year of the cooperatives and the mutuals.
And the theme for the year, of course, is co-ops build a better world. So Isak, in your own words, how do co-ops build, and mutuals, of course, build a better world?
Sure, a couple of things. First of all, I think if that purpose, again, they get created around a purpose, and that purpose is often around it's in harmony, it gels with broader development goals and things like that. It is all about building a better world. So I think that purpose of cooperatives and mutuals usually gel with a lot of the goals of that's out there in the world around sustainability, around equality, around just development. So I think mutuals and cooperatives can, as a business model, can do so much. Poverty. I mean, name it. Often think of around the framework of the 17 SDGs. Usually that purpose gels with that. So if you, as a business model, us as individuals can only do so much, but us as a collective, if you take PPS in South Africa, I mean, our market segment is the professionals. We are able to almost mobilize and push certain agendas there. And the professionals, after all, is the market segment that make things happen in the world. The inventors, the academics, the researchers, they serve justice, they heal people, etc., etc., etc. So us, for example, to use our own example as a mutual organization, we can, through the members that we serve, we can impact society in a big way. For example, education, or on the some sustainability objectives.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I think that the idea of cooperation among cooperatives and mutuals and the scale that can engender is something that the CM50 is really focusing on, and I think that's a brilliant thing. Really, really great.
It's so interesting. Often with stock businesses, they often compete in a competitive. Now look, in certain jurisdictions where there are perhaps more than one mutual serving a particular stakeholder group, there's a bit of competition. But my experience is with mutuals, we are much more, we like to share. It's a world of it's not a scarcity mentality, it's an abundance mentality. Mutuals want to share, they want to help each other. I'm blown away, at international conferences. We're a member of ICMF, and now we just share so much. I don't think you will find a lot of that with stock businesses. It's not going to happen.
No, there is a real business argument, isn't there, for collaboration, which is great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, we bluntly share as much as possible, to help each other and to support each other, because at the end of the day, it's just about our members. It's making them, helping them. So yeah, we don't mind sharing, and even we don't mind if other mutuals steal our ideas. Great, go for it. We support that.
Another question for you, actually, Isak, while you're here, is I'm really curious about why you think that the insurance sector in particular has really embraced mutuals. And I guess that it must be around people valuing their future, and actually that person-based future as well. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it's an easy one. It is what is insurance? It is coming together, and if something bad happens to one of us, the broader community support that. Hey, so many years ago, many of the life offices in the UK, when they were founded in the 17th century, it was people say, look, man, if somebody passes away, what's going to happen to the family, and things like that. And then it's a number of them coming together and say, if each of us can contribute a little bit, then there's money available to support that particular family. Or in the case of physical goods, short-term insurance, general insurance. Again, if something happens, we as a collective can support those unfortunate few that has a claims event. And that is, so it's almost a logical way to help each other as a collective. So that is in the insurance world. But with cooperatives, often again, it's farmers that need to come together, because as an individual, you don't have the scale to do certain things. But as a collective, you can then maybe purchase certain capital equipment, or from a marketing perspective, distribution and so on. It's easier as you alone. So yeah, the impulse is that me alone cannot, I've got a need, but I can only solve it by partnering with a collective. So let us all come together and we form a cooperative or a mutual insurer, and then we solve our problems. So that is a kind of, and yeah, that's the reason why it starts. If that makes sense.
No, it did. I just think it's fascinating because insurance is such a forward-looking thing, and culture mutuals are so forward-looking, and it's great to see that intersection, I think.
Yeah, and you hope that the unfortunate event is not going to happen to you, you know. So you gladly contribute to the pool.
Absolutely. Isak Schmidt, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.